shutting down parts of Russia's economy could spark mass protests, with issues already seen in coal mining, machine building, and construction. Ivan Us, chief consultant at the Center for Foreign Policy Studies of the National Institute for Strategic Studies, PhD in economics, shared his opinions with Espreso TV. He said the state of Russia's economy could seriously weaken the Kremlin's ability to continue its war against Ukraine. The shutdown of certain sectors of the Russian economy will spark protests, regardless of what Russians say publicly or how much they blame Zelensky for their problems. They will direct their anger at their own politicians. Just remember when Prigozhin seized control of Rostov-on-Don, a city of over 1 million. We saw almost no protests against him. On the contrary, I had the impression that, despite the showy displays of loyalty to the authorities, there was real demand for a forceful change of government. Us explained. The Economist also noted that Russia is already facing serious problems with consumer lending. As of today, Russians owe over $277 billion in unpaid loans to banks. Worsening economic conditions could further influence public sentiment. For instance, Russians currently owe $277 billion in overdue loan payments. As a result, banks, which are already cutting back on car and housing loans, will likely reduce lending overall. In Russia, it's common for people to take out one loan to repay another. On top of that, the country is facing major issues in the coal mining sector, the machine building industry, and the construction sector. These problems are piling up, he concluded. According to the head of the PU Office of Ukraine, Andriy Yermak, Putin's war machine has been financed by oil and gas sales all this time. However, if Trump's threat is realized, Russia's partners such as India and China will suffer. So New Delhi and Beijing will have to pressure the Kremlin to bring Putin to the negotiating table. Otherwise, new trade wars will begin. Yermak emphasized that only economic pressure on the Russian Federation will force Putin to end the war. The head of the office is confident that the situation will definitely become clear by the end of the year. At the same time, Yermak also believes that this time Trump will not go back on his words and will fulfill everything to the end. Putin has already had the opportunity to observe events in Iran, which show that peace through force is possible. Yermak said that relations between Trump and Zelensky are now constructive and they speak the same language on events in Ukraine. The head of the OPU was present at Zelensky's last conversation with Trump and said that the conversation was very constructive.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Russian leader Vladimir Putin is afraid of the United States. Zelensky made the remarks in an interview with Newsmax on Tuesday. Zelensky explained that there is a tendency in Russia to halt bombing Ukraine during visits by U.S. Special Envoy Keith Kellogg and other White House officials. Zelensky linked the pause in U.S. airstrikes on Kiev in the 2 consecutive days to Kellogg's recent visit to his country. General Kellogg arrived and there were no massive bombings for 2 nights in a row. This is a very interesting example. There were no heavy attacks this night and the previous night, too, Zelensky explained. Even people are already joking about it, saying that we should give General Kellogg a Ukrainian passport and leave him here and that Americans should come to us more often because then Russia would bomb less. What does this mean? That Putin deliberately bombs civilians, but when the Americans are here, he doesn't do it. That is, he intimidates, blackmails, creates tension, but does not go for a full escalation, Zelensky went on saying. He claimed that the presence of military officials in Ukraine prompts the Kremlin to recalculate its plans, adding that the Russian authorities pay attention to the military and political influence of the United States. Furthermore, Zelensky thanked Washington for its efforts to end the war, calling the U.S. role in the current situation a strategic key. It should be noted that retired U.S. Army General Kellogg arrived in Kiev on Monday following Donald Trump's announcement that the White House would supply Ukraine with missiles and weapons, including Patriot air defense systems much thought after by Kiev. In yet another move to bring Putin to the negotiating table, Trump warned very severe tariffs if Russia did not end the war in 50 days.
Russian propagandists are once again talking about a missile apocalypse, this time because of rumors about the possible transfer of long-range American JASSM missiles to Ukraine. A wave of panicked messages with gloomy forecasts about massive strikes on central Russia has begun on Z channels, including statements that war will come to every home. The Russian Z channel Veterans Notes is preparing Russians for missile strikes in the coming months. In August to September, we should expect missile strikes by ballistic and long-range NATO missiles on large cities in central Russia. The alliance has given the go-ahead for this. The first missiles are already on Ukrainian territory, the propagandist wrote. Where he got this information from is unknown. Z propagandists see JASSM as a key threat. As sad as it may sound, war will most likely come to every home, writes the frightened ultra-patriots. JASSM Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile is a precision-guided cruise missile developed by the United States to destroy hardened targets at long range. There are two main versions of the missile: the basic AGM-158A, with a range of up to 370 kilometers, and the improved AGM-158B JASSM-ER, capable of hitting targets at a distance of up to 1,000 kilometers. Both versions can be launched from American F-16 fighters. It is this range that causes real panic among Russian military bloggers. The materials of Z channels indicate that the range of the AGM-158A allows attacking targets in the Belgorod, Kursk, Bryansk, Oryol and Voronezh regions. The extended version of the AGM-158B allegedly threatens Cheboksary, Vologda and even St. Petersburg. Propagandists claim that the US already has about 4,000 such missiles in stock, and Ukraine is receiving Western carrier aircraft for them, F-16. In this regard, Z channels are confident that strikes on Moscow, Samara or Nizhny Novgorod are only a matter of time. Although no official information about the transfer of JASSM to Ukraine has been received at the time of publication, Russian military propaganda is actively panicking. Z authors complain that due to the length of the borders and the lack of modern air defense systems, Russia will not be able to reliably protect its facilities if the missiles actually enter service with the Ukrainian armed forces. Hence the gloomy passages about the new reality and the inevitability of war on its own territory. The use of JASSM missiles, if they are delivered, will be aimed primarily at strategic military targets: ammunition depots, logistics hubs, command posts. There can be no carpet posts. There can be no carpet shelling of cities, which the Z channels like to talk about, neither according to international law nor according to the logic of modern warfare. While Russian Z channels paint pictures of destruction and the rampage of NATO missiles, Ukraine continues the fight to liberate its territories and protect civilians, and does so within the framework of the right to self-defense, recognized by the international community.